and this faith journey has produced is peace and joy. And so, God, we enter your gates today with thanksgiving. We are thanking you that we are growing up in faith. We are thanking you that we are becoming and beholding and becoming change for the time we have spent in your presence. Hello. Is this thing on? How y'all doing? I know I have been missing in action for a little while because life has been happening, right? So had to do some very interesting things. Then last week they had construction, literally road construction right outside my house. It was so loud I couldn't come on because y'all wouldn't have heard anything I said. And I would have been distracted, and I did not want to be a distraction. Hey. So I didn't come on last week, but literally last night I'm going to bed, and God is like, so I ain't told you stop. Legit, that's what he told me. I ain't told you stop. So here I am. I'm back. And so I want to say welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to the live. If you are watching the replay, welcome to the replay. Yes, I am hype. I am excited. And am I always this hype? Pretty much. Like I live here. I live in 10, you know. And all the songs are in my head. Like I'm all the way up. Oh, look, I'm just happy to be here, guys. How has your week been going? How has your month been going? You know the other reason I'm super hyped, guys? It's Rocktober. My birthday. I just got my birthday nails to match my birthday here. Yes, I am excited, guys. Life is good. And I make no disclaimers on that. I'm not going to say, oh, things aren't perfect. I no longer pursue perfection. And if I am pursuing perfection, I'm pursuing God, understanding that he will bring any perfection necessary to my life. So, okay, so things aren't perfect, and that's okay. Do I have everything I need? Yes. I now believe what God told me, that I have everything I need to be successful. And I even now believe that I'm not too late. Because God, the Bible says, in all things, God is working. In that portion is like wherever you find yourself, God is in it. And I said 2 seconds ago that if he's in it, he's bringing the perfection. So the timing will be perfect when it comes. Whatever it is will be put together. He has prepared me for it. So I have everything I need to be successful because I have my God with me. And so I am just excited to be with you, to share with you just a little bit. This is probably going to turn into a series. I knew it when God gave me the message. And literally, this is exactly what he reminded me. He was like, I told you that this was a series, and then you didn't go back live again. And then when you went back live, you talked about something else, but you need to finish what you started. I don't know who needed that, but you need to finish what you started. God had told you what it was, and then you stopped. And you didn't stop voluntarily. It wasn't like you made a conscious choice to be like, oh, I'm not going to do this and this and this. No, life happened. Like, again, it was construction outside of my house. Nobody knew that they were coming to fix our street and cut the pavement open and plant new pipes and dump dirt across from my house and have the beep. Like, I didn't know that. It wasn't a voluntary choice that you made to stop working on the thing God had told you to do, but you stopped anyway. And I'm just here to tell you, get back to work. It's like that already. That he's already on your street coming down your lane. Listen, I'm just here to tell you, get back to work. Like, and I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to myself. Like, legit, I came back for this live, and immediately as I'm talking to you, I'm reminded of the amount. I literally just got off the phone with my sister, and she's telling me about something that God has been tugging on me to do. And I keep being too busy to do it. And what's interesting is too busy to do, even while I'm telling God that I'm available for him to do stuff. God's like, I don't need you to be available for new stuff. How about you finish what I told you to start? Finish the last thing, sis. Finish the last thing. So I am, look, this, welcome. Well, this is what our broadcast looks like. There is a structure. There are things that need to happen, but I've been gone for a little while. And what has happened is God was like, listen, get back to it. Get back to your position. Get back to post. Get back to work. I should have put the topic as get back to work, because that's what Jesus is coming at me with. But I won't. I will stick with the topic that God has given me. Okay. And so the topic that I have is 5783. Let's see. And so I already told you welcome. I can tell you, let's get rid of that banner. Briefly, I will tell you to subscribe, to follow, to like, to share the broadcast on whatever platform. If you can think of someone who will be blessed by this, share it. If you can't, watch it over and ask God to give you somebody. Maybe just share it on your post. Follow for more conversations like this. Excuse me, but whatever the case, subscribe, follow, like, share. That is all the housekeeping that we are about to do. So now I am going to go straight into our topic, which is 5783, because I already told you, get back to work, right? Get back to work. Go pick back up that thing you put down, because life was lifing at 100%, at 1,000%, and you got busy or you got distracted. This is your reminder. Go back and finish what God told you. You ain't done. Okay. I'm going to get off my soapbox now and get with the program. And we're going to see how God ties them together, because I am sure that he will. So what's happened is, just a brief review. We know that there are two dates running synonymously, right? There is the Gregorian calendar, which is the one we typically follow, which is that January, February, March. That is the Gregorian calendar. There is also the Judaic or Hebrew calendar, and they follow, their months are, Elul and just other months. And that is the Judaic one, pretty much is the one described in the Bible, right? Because you know how in Genesis 1 it says, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Well, that is how their days go. And that is how that calendar runs. And that calendar has been running for the last 5,783 years. That is how far back that calendar has been running uninterrupted. That's where they are. And so that calendar, the year began at the beginning of October. So I think around October 9th was the beginning of the new year. And so that was Rosh Hashanah. Followed by this week, we had the Feast of Festivals, which is 8-day celebration, and that was Sukkot. Sukkot, Sukkot. That ended yesterday, okay? And sunset yesterday, because again, evening and morning were the first day. So the holiday begins at sunset of the day before, okay? Let's track with me. So we are using that calendar when I talk about the year is 5783. According to that calendar, 5783 began back on October 9th. So we are about 3 weeks into the new year. And what's interesting is that because their 24-hour cycle starts at sunset of the day before, their days don't even necessarily line up with ours. So their days straddle 2 of ours. So even though on the Gregorian calendar, it's been about 3 weeks, on the Judaic calendar, the Hebrew calendar, it's only been about 2 weeks. It's still 24-hour cycles, but their days pretty much half one of ours and half. So their days, their day clocks run totally different to ours. And that being, it's only been about 2 weeks. So the first was that, and then the next last week was, like I told you, Sukkot. Now, why am I telling you all of this stuff about the dates, right? One, I want you to know that God is here to redeem your time. So I already told you, get back to work, but I want you to know that you haven't lost time because of your distraction. Listen, I already feel like God is going to wear me out, wear us out. Y'all just go for this ride with me, okay? Just go for this ride. So not only am I here to tell you, get back to work, that thing that God told you to do, that life started happening and you got distracted by, I am also here to tell you that God is a redeemer of time. And so while we are dealing with this, I want you to know that it's also not too late, or that you have not wasted too much time, that you will still arrive at the end of that thing on time if you start today, even if you start tomorrow, right? Because the beauty of our God is that he sits outside of time and interjects himself when necessary. So I just want to encourage you, start today even, because you're not too late. Anyway, so we're talking about 5783, and I'm saying the new year has begun. That is the topic. And when I wrote that, it's because literally the new year has begun. And the truth is, just because we don't see that the year has begun doesn't mean it hasn't. Just because on the Gregorian calendar it says we're in October doesn't mean that new things didn't break forth in your life at the beginning of this month. And so I want you guys to take up this banner in faith that the new year has begun. It doesn't matter what you see now. It doesn't matter what the date on your personal calendar is. The new year has begun. And what kind of year is it? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. Listen, you haven't lost time, sis, because and that's why I went into so much detail about the way that calendar works, right? Because it's easy to look at where we are today and feel like, no, their days don't even line up to our days. Whew! This is for the person who's been measuring their progress on a wrong time system. Get off that calendar. Get on God's time. You haven't lost time. Just because this calendar says one thing, that doesn't mean that you are wrong. All is not lost. God's timing, and I said it, is perfect. And it's perfect because he brings the perfection. So when he interjects himself into our timeline, it's going to be perfect. So you can't lose time because God will make up. And God's time doesn't work like ours. I explained that in depth, where that evening and the morning. So their days literally, when you look at it and they say, like, when is Rosh Hashanah? It says October 9/10, because it started on the sunset of October 9th, and then it ended at sundown on October 10th. That's their 24 hours. And we keep, and what happens is we get so caught up with the time that we can track and see, we continue to forget that God does not operate on the time that we see. I'm just inviting you to go on this journey of resetting our calendar, our time, and our clock. Let's get on God's time, because there's still enough time for you to do that thing that God has said. And so that is going to be the jump off for what we're talking about today, right? Because here's what happened. Here's what happened. Um, the year 5783, that's where we are. So when Rosh Hashanah happened, the beginning of the new year that started was 5783, and we entered into, and in Hebrew or in the Judaic calendar, what is important to note is that letters and numbers are one and the same. So in English, we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then for numbers, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, in Hebrew and to us, I believe also in Greek, letters are numbers. So alpha is both A and 1, right? Hear me. Numbers are letters, and letters are numbers. Y'all, this thing is gonna get good. I already look, I done felt it. But numbers are letters and letters are numbers. So when we talk about 5783, the way we break that down would be it's the 1,000 years is a millennium. So it's the fifth millennium. So it's 5,000. That's one number. Then there is 700. That's another number. And then 80 is a number. And then 3 is a number, right? Telling you. And so we break that down, and each of those numbers have significance. Okay. But I'm not going to go. I am not going to, what God didn't focus me on the 5,000, the 700. He focused me on the 80, because 80 is our decade. And so this current decade we're in, it started in 2020. Y'all, when I tell you, like, this is why I'm telling you God brings the perfection, because the new decade started in 2020. Let that, just think about how 2020 worked out. The new decade started in 2020. Y'all, you want me to tell you what it was, what the decade is? So it's the number 80 is the Hebrew letter pay. Okay, that's Pey, the translation in English. Pay, the symbol for pay, it means mouth. Go ahead. Tell me in the comments. It means mouth. So we are literally in the decade of the mouth. And what have we been doing? What happened in 2020? We were in this place where we started saying and seeing stuff. And then what did the coronavirus do? It closed people's mouths. Or it had you declaring things that you should or shouldn't have. And had you taking positions on things that you should or shouldn't have. It's the decade of the mouth. And so once we get past the decade of the mouth, I was like, okay, so what is the significance then? Ooh, I did something. I did something. Let's just go. Guys, I have notes. That's what this is. And I'm trying to follow my notes. No, this is not what I want. Sorry, I have to find back my notes. I'm trying to go from my notes so that I don't mess up what I believe. Well, I lost it. It's going to be okay. That's not it. That's not it. You know what happened? And that's interesting. what happened, guys, is I clicked on a tab and it gave me the today results versus the results from the day I did it, which is always interesting. And that's what I was trying to retain. Anyway, I'm going to run with what I got because we're not going to get distracted by this. This is a distraction. So, outside of what we do, so I was like, okay, God, we're in this decade of the mouth. And what the significance of our mouth, we know because the verse in the Bible, oh my gosh, it's in Proverbs. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, excuse me, and those who love it will eat its fruit. And I am careful to say the whole verse because sometimes we fall into the trap of just saying the part of the verse like we like. No, the entire verse says life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. So you speak life, you will eat the fruits of life. You speak death, you will eat the fruit of death. And I was like, okay, Jesus, so you're saying watch our words this decade. Because what our words are is what we will see and experience. And that's why you saw I started using the hashtag, you will see what you say. And that's even why earlier this year I did the May Declarations Challenge, because I wanted us to start changing the way we think. Because when we change the way we think, then we'll change the way we talk. And so I wanted us to get into practice of speaking differently and thinking differently so that we would live differently. And so we did the May Declarations Challenge, and we talked about seeing what we say, and we unpacked all these deep and heavy things. And I was like, okay, God, so as we are going through, what else is 5783, right? And I promise you that day, I was like, okay, 5783 in the Bible. I went to Bible Hub, and you know that 5783, the entry 5783 in the Hebrew, because we stuck. So just note that there is no entry 5783 in Greek. Greek cuts off before that. So in Strong's, there's no Greek or New Testament 5783 word. In Hebrew, the word is, guys, and means to be exposed or to bear. So this year, okay, we are and not bear as in bear fruit, but bear as in BARE, as to show. And so this coming year, we are going to see the words that we spoke exposed. So the things that happen in your life will be exposing what you said for these last couple years. We're starting to see the exposure of the choices that we began making in 2020. So the seeds that you planted, we're going to see, were you weeping? Were you sowing sparingly? Were you sowing in joy? You know, were you like, what were you doing? Right? We're gonna see it's in the and again, the topic is the year has already started. 5783 has begun. So you've already begun to experience this exposure where we see stuff and you see the news and you're like, oh man, like I didn't know that. And you're like, how long has this been going on? We are seeing this exposure and it's only going to get bigger and wider. And so I was like, okay, so we are going to be exposed. But God, what is going to be exposed? So then I did another search, right? Because that's who I am and that's what I do. I search things over and over and over again. And so I was like, 5783. There is now an index of biblical themes. And guys, I haven't even delved into this. And this is why I'm telling you it's probably going to be a series, right? Because this is just let's go a little step deeper than I did the last time. So 5783, we've already gotten that it's the decade of the mouth. And then in totality, we're going to see that this year, 5783, it's herb. Things are going to be exposed. They're going to, what was covered will be uncovered. It's going to be bare. People are going to see you for who you are. And what's interesting is the requirement will also be that you have to show up fully as yourself in the places that you go. That's a word for somebody today, because I literally said this in conversation last week, that I didn't realize that I would have to show up as my full self on my job. I have a job, I do, and I love it. But it's this idea where, you go to work and you want to be professional, and God exposed me at work. And when I say, you guys know, I come on here and I talk about Jesus all the time, and I get prophetic utterance, and I do that stuff here, and I try to keep it right here in this space. Why did God have me have to have that exposure where he gave me a word from my boss? I don't even know her like that, Jesus. And no shade, I literally just started working there, so I don't know the people well. I haven't been there long enough to feel comfortable exposing this part of myself. And God was like, nope, show up as yourself. Some of you are experiencing that right now, where God has put you in spaces, and he's requiring you to expose things about yourself that you're like, God, wait, hold on. He's like, no, ain't no hold on. You have to show up as you 100%. All the parts of you, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, all of it is required for this season. And you have to show up that way the entire time and every time. There's no, I'm going to give this person this part and give this part. No. All of you is required. Exposure, full exposure. God wants us to be R-rated. No restrictions. Full exposure. And so I was like, oh, okay. That's where we are. And so I come on, and now last one that I'm going to get to touch, because y'all know I try not to go over 30 minutes. We're not doing that. And so the last thing, and I've told you all of these to a certain extent before, and over the next several weeks, and we'll see how long it takes for us to get through all of this. But because I haven't even begun, this is still the explanation of everything. I still have not even began to jump into the points that God began to show me. But then the last thing that I was looking at was, so there's a dictionary of biblical themes, right? So there's themes in the Bible that go through, and they're across the Bible, Old and New Testament, and these biblical themes. So I went into that, and in the dictionary of biblical themes, guys, 57, and I can't make this stuff up, 5783 is agreement. So we're now at that this year, we're in this decade of the mouth, right? We're in this decade of the mouth where you will see what you say. And the first thing we learned was that what you say is going to be exposed. And you're going to have what you've said, what you've sown, what you've spoken. You had this conversation over here and you ain't tell nobody, it's going to come out over there. It's all going to be exposed. The things that we encounter this year will be because of what we said. That's this entire decade. But we're entering into this period of exposure. And then God ties this bow on it. And he was like, and here's why it's going to be exposed. Because your agreements are going to be exposed. And I'm going to run down to you on this biblical theme index, the types of agreement that it came up with, okay? Agreement to do good. An agreement to do wrong. A legal agreement between witnesses. A legal agreement between nations, treaties. Ways of making agreements by accepting things offered through mutually acceptable terms. Agreements commended by believers, which agreements that enhance unity, agreements that avoid division, agreements made before God, which are agreements in prayer, agreements in praise, and agreements with God's terms. All of those are different types of agreements and themes in the Bible. And we will unpack those one by one, because I don't see us being able to go through all of them in a single sitting. But those are the types of agreements that we're going to see this year. And what I am telling you is, it's all in your mouth. It's all in your mouth. So we started at, it's time. It's time to get back to work. It's time to pick up the thing you had put down because life. It's time, and God is going to make your time. He's going to restore your time. He's going to show you haven't lost any time. But in the meantime, pay attention to the places and things that are being exposed, how your circle is being exposed, who you are being exposed to. Pay attention to how you are required to show up in these places and spaces. Pay attention to the agreements that come to you in this season. What are they offering you? What do they want you to do to get this? Who is the agreement with? What will the agreement affect? What's the end result? It's hilarious because I'm saying agreements, and I'm literally, many of you know that I'm in law school, and I'm taking contracts. And in contracts, which is an agreement, we start talking about, for a contract to be enforceable, there has to be consideration. And consideration is mutual sacrifice, is the way I worded it to my professor, and he agreed, where you both have to be losing or sacrificing something for there to be consideration. And there must be a bargaining of terms. And so you out here with some, well, God, if you do this, and I'm going to give up this and this and this, or you in this relationship and you're like, if you let this happen, I'm going to do this, this, and this. Or you with your business partners and you're like, we're going to do this. Be careful of your agreements. Be careful, guys. Be careful, because exposure is coming. Exposure is here. And I just want to look, the Bible talks about being watchmen on the walls. And I feel like that's where God has called me. And that is why he reminded me, like, I didn't tell you stop, get back out there. There is someone who needs to hear this. So please share this far and wide. Share it with somebody who's like, yo, what's happening? I see this happening. Send them like, dude, I caught this chick live. And it was like she was talking. Just know the new year, 5783, has already begun. We aren't waiting for 2023 because we're already seeing the fruit. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it eat its fruit. We are already seeing the fruit of 5783. So thank you so much for watching with me. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for, continuing to show up. And thank you for, your participation. Thank you for sharing this broadcast. I pray that, as I tell you almost on every broadcast that I end, I always say, I pray that your latter, as in the latter half of your day, is greater than the beginning. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. And this faith journey has produced is peace and joy. And so, God, we enter your gates today with thanksgiving. We are thanking you that we are growing up in faith. We are thanking you that we are becoming and beholding and becoming change for the time we have spent in your presence.